Your brain is not your ally, it is your first opponent. And most people never even realize the war is already happening. 12 minutes. That is all I am asking for. Not because this will be entertaining. Not because this will make you feel good. Not because you will finish this and immediately want to share it with someone who needs to hear it. I am asking for 12 minutes because in 12 minutes, if you are actually paying attention, if you are reading this with the part of your mind that is honest, rather than the part that is comfortable, something in the way you think will change permanently. Not the surface layer, not the motivational warmth that fades by tomorrow morning. The architecture, the deep structural wiring that determines before you even make a conscious decision what you pursue, what you avoid, what you believe is possible, and what you have quietly decided is not for you. That is what we are going to touch in the next 12 minutes. And once it is touched, it cannot be untouched. You have been warned. Let me tell you what is actually happening inside your brain right now. Not metaphorically. Structurally, your brain, the most sophisticated information processing system in the known universe, is running a program that was written largely without your permission. A program assembled from fragments, from the first things you were told about yourself before you were old enough to evaluate whether they were true, from the reactions of people whose approval you needed and whose disapproval you feared, from failures that your brain cataloged not as data, but as identity, from patterns repeated so many times they stopped being choices and became automatic. This program runs in the background of every decision you make. Every morning when you decide whether to execute the plan or negotiate with yourself, the program is running. Every time you start something difficult and feel the pull to stop before it gets uncomfortable, the program is running. Every time you are standing at the edge of something that could change everything and something inside you manufactures a reason to step back, the program is running. And the terrifying part, the part that most people spend their entire lives never confronting, is that the program feels like you. It does not feel like an external limitation. It does not announce itself as a fear response or a conditioned pattern or a defense mechanism assembled in childhood. It feels like your honest assessment of reality. It feels like wisdom. It feels like the reasonable, responsible voice of a person who simply understands their own limitations. It is not wisdom. It is code, and code, unlike character, can be rewritten. The first thing I need to install in your thinking is this. Your brain was not designed for excellence. It was designed for survival. These are not the same objective. And confusing them, operating as if a survival-optimized system will naturally produce excellence-level outputs, is the foundational error that keeps capable people permanently below their potential. A survival-optimized brain is extraordinarily good at one thing: keeping you alive and keeping you comfortable. It is wired to conserve energy, avoid uncertainty, seek social approval, and return to baseline whenever deviation from baseline creates discomfort. Every single one of those survival priorities is a direct obstacle to extraordinary results. Extraordinary results require energy expenditure that feels wasteful to a conservation-oriented system. They require moving toward uncertainty when every alarm in your biology is screaming to retreat to the known. They require making choices that will not be universally approved, that will in fact generate active disapproval from people whose comfort depends on you staying predictable. And they require sustained deviation from baseline, sustained discomfort for long enough that the baseline itself shifts. Your brain will resist all of this, not because it is working exactly as designed. The problem is you no longer need it to do what it was designed for. You are not in physical danger. You are not at risk of starvation. The uncomfortable conversation, the difficult work, the pursuit of something that hasn't been done before, none of these will kill you. But your brain does not have a category for uncomfortable but safe. It has a category for comfortable and a category for threatening. And anything outside the comfort zone gets filed under threatening and responded to accordingly. Understanding this, truly understanding this at a structural level rather than intellectually acknowledging it and then ignoring it, is the first permanent change. Because once you understand that your resistance is biological rather than rational, you stop arguing with it. You stop trying to convince yourself that the fear is wrong. You stop waiting for the fear to go away before you proceed. You stop treating the discomfort as a signal that something is wrong. You recognize it as the sound of your survival system encountering something it was not designed to process. And you proceed anyway. The second installation is about identity, and this one is more important than the first. Everything you do, every habit, every decision, every automatic behavior that shapes your days and therefore your life is ultimately driven by one thing: who you believe you are. Not who you want to be, not who you're trying to become, who you believe you are. Conscious thought, where the actual decisions are made before your conscious mind even gets involved. If you believe at that level that you are someone who struggles with discipline, Your brain will filter every situation through that belief and produce behaviors consistent with it. Not because you're weak, because the brain is extraordinarily efficient at maintaining consistency with its own self-model. It will find evidence that confirms the belief. It will discount evidence that contradicts it. It will generate feelings and impulses that produce behaviors aligned with what it believes to be true about you. This is not a character flaw. This is a feature called identity-consistent behavior, and it means with absolute precision that you will never permanently outperform your own self-concept. You can have temporary bursts of performance above your identity level. Motivation can produce them. Pressure can produce them, but they will not last. Because the brain-efficient, consistent, relentless will pull you back to baseline, back to the behavior that matches who it believes you are. The only way to permanently change your behavior is to permanently change your identity. Not your goals, not your habits, not your environment, though all of those matter. Your identity. The story your brain tells about who you are must be rewritten at the source level, not through affirmations said to a mirror, through the accumulation of evidence, through choosing repeatedly, in small moments nobody witnesses, to act like the person you are deciding to be, before you feel like that person, before you have proof that you are that person. Before anyone around you recognizes that person in you, you act like them anyway, because identity is not discovered, it is constructed, and construction requires deliberate, sustained action in the absence of confirmation. Third installation. This one will be the most uncomfortable. You are addicted to thinking about your goals rather than executing them. I want you to sit with that sentence for a moment, because it is describing something that feels productive, feels like progress, feels like engagement with your ambitions, but is actually one of the most sophisticated forms of procrastination the human brain has ever developed. Thinking about your goals activates the same neural reward pathways as making actual progress toward them. Your brain releases dopamine when you visualize success, when you plan in detail, when you talk about what you're going to do, when you consume content about people who have done what you want to do. And dopamine being the efficient system it is, satisfies the drive. The hunger that was supposed to push you into action gets fed by the mental simulation of action. And so the action itself, the actual, physical, uncomfortable, unglamorous execution never happens. Or happens briefly, inconsistently, never long enough to compound into results. You have been feeding yourself the simulation of progress and wondering why the actual results aren't arriving. The hack is brutal in its simplicity. Stop consuming. Start producing. Every hour spent watching someone else execute your vision is an hour your brain is receiving the dopamine reward without paying the actual cost. Cut it. Replace it with execution. Ugly, imperfect, uncomfortable execution that produces real output in the real world, regardless of quality, regardless of how far it falls short of the vision. Real output, no matter how imperfect, rewires the brain in a way that consumption never can, because real output generates real feedback. And real feedback, not the simulated feedback of imagined success, is the only input the brain can use to actually recalibrate. Fourth installation. Attention. Your attention is the most valuable resource you possess. More valuable than your time, because time without attention produces nothing. More valuable than your intelligence, because intelligence without directed attention is an engine with no steering. And in 2026, your attention is under the most sophisticated assault in human history. Every platform you open was engineered by teams of the most talented behavioral scientists, alive specifically to capture your attention and hold it for as long as mechanically possible. Not because they care about your experience, because your attention is their product. Every second your eyes spend on their content is revenue for them, and a second subtracted from everything you were supposed to build. This is not a conspiracy. It is a business model, and it is working. The average person in 2026 is losing 4 to 6 hours of attention every single day to systems that were designed to take it. 4 to 6 hours that were supposed to be deposited into their own growth, their own creation, their own compounding progress towards something that matters. Gone. Every day. Without the feeling of loss, because the extraction is so smooth, so pleasurable, so perfectly calibrated to the exact frequency of stimulation that prevents boredom without requiring effort. Ayanakoji's most lethal quality is not his intelligence, it is his ability to direct his complete, undivided, uncontaminated attention at a single target for as long as the target requires. That quality in 2026 is becoming rarer than any traditional skill. Because traditional skills can be taught in schools, learned from courses, acquired through structured effort. But the ability to simply pay attention fully, deeply, without the constant pull of the next notification, the next scroll, the next hit of low-effort stimulation that is being systematically destroyed in almost everyone simultaneously. Protect your attention like it is the only thing between you and permanent mediocrity. Because it is. Fifth installation. And this is the one that permanently separates the people who change from the people who almost change. Most people treat their future self as a different person. They make decisions in the present that their future self will have to pay for, and they do it without guilt, without real accountability, because the future self feels abstract, far away. Deal with the consequences of today's choices when today eventually becomes then. This cognitive distance between present self and future self is the engine of almost every self-destructive pattern in human behavior. The person who stays up until 2 a.m. when they need to be functional at 7 a.m. is making a present self decision that costs the future self. The person who skips the work today because they don't feel like it is borrowing from a future self who will have to compensate. The person who chooses the comfortable option consistently is quietly mortgaging a future self, who will eventually have to reckon with the compound interest of all those comfortable choices. The hack is this: collapse the distance, make your future self real, specific present. Not an abstract concept, but a concrete person whose life you are either building or destroying with each current decision. When you are standing at the decision point, the moment between the comfortable choice and the correct one, the question is not, do I feel like doing this? The question is, what does this decision do to the person I am building? That question asked honestly, consistently, in real time rewires the decision architecture more permanently than any motivational content ever produced. Because it removes the abstraction. It makes the stakes immediate. It transforms every small decision from a trivial daily choice into a vote cast in real time for or against the person you are trying to become. You have been running on a program you did not write, optimized for survival in a world that no longer requires what survival requires, wired for approval from people whose opinion of your potential was always limited by their own, designed to return to baseline to pull you back, quiet you down, keep you predictable and comfortable and safely within the range of what everyone around you has decided is realistic. That program has been running your entire life, and in the last 12 minutes you have seen it, not felt it, not been inspired by the description of it, seen it, with the cold, clear, unsentimentalized vision of someone who has decided to stop being managed by a system they never agreed to and start operating with the precision of someone who understands exactly what is happening inside their own mind. That seeing is the hack, because you cannot unsee it. Every time the resistance appears, you will recognize it now. Every time the comfortable choice presents itself dressed as wisdom, you will know what it actually is. Every time your brain manufactures a reason to stop, you will understand the mechanism well enough to name it, neutralize it, and proceed. Not without difficulty. Difficulty is not the enemy. Difficulty is the environment in which everything worth having is built, but with clarity. With the cold, precise, unshakable clarity of someone who has looked at the machine that was running them and decided to run it instead. 12 minutes. That is what it took. Not to fix everything. Not to solve the problems that years of conditioned thinking created. To see. And sight, real sight, the kind that cannot be taken back, is where everything begins. Your brain was their territory. For 12 minutes you took it back.